Hi guys, welcome back to the Shana Show podcast. Hello if you're new. So today's episode is going to be a review of Love Island 2020 episode 17. So I guess the kind of key storylines of this episode was the aftermath of the recoupling. Leanne got dumped. We kind of knew she was going to have a confrontation with Mike. We knew that Mike was going to continue grafting with Jess, and we knew there was going to be some type of argument with Sophie and Shana. Obviously, the episode begins with Leanne confronting Mike about Mike sending her home. She basically accuses Mike of being spiteful. She said she doesn't understand. They spent 2 weeks together. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that he'd pick Sophie over her, and the only reason why he picked her is because he just wanted to get rid of her. And I'm just thinking maybe she's just angry and she's projecting at this point because, again, the delusion. You disrespected him. There was no humility. You've had plenty of chances to try and redeem yourself in terms of improving your relationship with Mike. You haven't made an effort with that, and then you're expecting him to save you. And then also it's a thing where, she says that she's known Mike for 2 weeks. Mike's known Sophie for 2 weeks as well. So it's a thing where they're broken up now. So her and Sophie are probably on the same level if those rules apply. And then on top of that, Sophie hasn't burned Mike. So it's a thing where, I don't know, maybe she just thought she was just going to let out her anger on him. Mike takes it well. And I feel like the reason why he wasn't that argumentative was just because, she's going home and that's that kind of thing. But yeah, all in all, it was just very cheeky. Again, elements of delusion here. And it's just, again, disappointing because, this was a time where you've now made yourself look bad on TV. You could have at least tried to redeem yourself on your exit as well. Because, this is what we're going to remember her for. She hasn't got a chance to redeem herself. Obviously, Shanice, she was acting crazy, but she's had a chance to redeem herself. Leanne hasn't got that. So this is the foot that she's coming off with off the show. So, yeah, I'm just disappointed in Leanne, to be honest. I just think it was a very sad way seeing her demise in the space of 3 days. So obviously near the beginning of the episode, we see the kind of bust up between Shana and Sophie. I kind of spoke about it a little bit in my other podcast, so I guess we'll just continue it today. So obviously it starts off with Shana questioning Sophie about Connor, like she's saying, so what about Connor? Like, do you still like Connor? Like, what's the deal? Sophie is a bit taken aback by that because it's just like, why would you bring that up? Especially if, that is your friend. I don't understand why you'd bring that, why you feel like that necessarily needed to be addressed. I feel like Connor's not there. Sophie has chosen to stay. You were even the advocate who picked Connor to get the boot, saying that Sophie would be more likely to continue the journey. So I'm confused as to why she thought that was necessary to bring up. But anyway, obviously Sophie's a bit taken aback. She basically says, what she said, the day after Connor left, she wants to see how it goes. She wants to have the experience. If she finds someone, great, but she's still on that journey of finding someone. And Shana is like confused. She's basically saying how she doesn't really understand why Sophie would be gunning to stay right now. And she just feels like because she said that she liked Connor a lot, basically insinuating that she feels like Sophie should have left by now. Which again I'm confused about because you were going so hard to save her. So now suddenly I don't understand why it would make sense for her now to just do a 180. I just feel like if that's how you feel about Callum, that's how you feel about Callum. That's obviously not how Sophie feels about Connor. So again, I'm not really sure why she was making that up to be an issue. Again, I can feel like Sophie again was a bit taken aback and she just kind of felt like, what the hell? Is she coming for me right now? And then of course she brings up the whole Nas thing. She says, I hope you didn't tell Nas to pick you over Demi because that would have been really unfair, and if he had picked you and Demi went home, I would have been really upset. And again, I don't think there was an issue with Sophie asking Nas I don't think Naz should have picked. I don't think he was ever going to pick. But I feel like as Sophie, somebody who's in danger of going home, this is a big opportunity here. I don't see the harm in her asking Naz whether he would consider picking her. From what I had seen, I don't think it was a thing where Sophie was pressing Naz to be like, well, pick me because, this Demi girl could be fake. I think it was a simple thing where, like, look, I want to stay. We could be in a friendship couple. Maybe it's something you could consider. That's the type of vibe that I got from the whole kind of Sophie and Naz situation from Sophie's part. And I don't really think that there's anything wrong with that. And even if you do think there's something wrong with that, Naz did exactly the same thing. And I didn't really see anyone pipe up about that because it's not even a comparison thing. Like, it was literally symmetrically the same thing. From what I'd seen, it didn't go down that way. And yeah, again, as I said in my last podcast, I'm just not really sure why she's making a big fuss out of a hypothetical situation that was very unlikely to happen. Naz was never going to pick Sophie over Demi. And then to top it all off, I feel like she didn't say it explicitly, but I feel like Shana was strongly insinuating that Sophie was a game player because she was saying all of that, it's a strange game, I keep forgetting that it's a game. So obviously she's insinuating that Sophie's a game player. Now, I'm not here to say that Sophie is not a game player. Sophie definitely has a game plan. But I just feel like everyone has a game plan, including Shana. And I feel like even her bringing it up is a part of her game plan to try and make Sophie look bad. And yeah, it was just very fishy. Like, I just don't feel like that's not what you do as a friend. People are saying Shana was telling the truth. I just feel like this truth was not necessary. I really don't think it was. I just feel like this was Shana trying to make feel bad. I think she knew exactly what she was doing. This was not out of love. This was not out of affection. So I'm not really sure what the purpose of this was other than malicious intent. Obviously, Sophie gets upset. And you know what? I can understand why Sophie is upset because Shana really did come for her. She was unnecessarily harsh to her. And it's a thing where, why you even, first off, the situation didn't even happen. And then second off, why are you backing this Demi girl so hard that you barely even know? Obviously, Sophie brought that up, and I agree. It's just very strange. Obviously, Sophie is very upset, and, she talks to Naz about it. And Naz doesn't even say anything about Sophie asking, doesn't even bring up their conversation before recoupling. So that kind of just lets me know that Shana inflated the situation and made it way bigger than it needed to be. Because if Naz isn't bothered, then obviously it didn't go down the way that Shana is trying to make it seem. Naz tells, the boys that Sophie's upset, that she's crying. And, Callum is not happy with Shana. He goes up to Shana and was like, why are you making Sophie cry? Like, I told you just like to leave it. I don't know why you even went up to her and say that. It was unnecessary. And then Shana gets upset with Callum for being upset with her. And then she's saying, she needs to toughen up. And then she's like, oh, well, why don't you couple up with Sophie then, to Callum? And then she's in the confessional saying, she's offended that Callum would even insinuate that she was being mean to Sophie. That was the confirmation there that Shana is threatened by Sophie. This wasn't Shana being real. This wasn't Shana being a friend. So Shana is threatened by Sophie. She saw the way that Callum was going to go out of his way to make sure that Sophie was saved, to the point where he would be willing to step on Naz's toes to save Sophie. Even me, I would be suspicious. So us knowing Shana, imagine how she felt. That's why she came for Sophie. She was threatened by Sophie. She doesn't like how close Sophie and Callum are. She's jealous of their relationship. So what does Shana do when she is threatened by girls in the house? She tries to knock them down a peg. And that's exactly what she was doing. And she got caught out. And that's why the next day she wanted to settle the beef. What do you guys think on the Shana situation? Do you feel she was being a good friend? She was just being real? Or do we think that she is threatened by Sophie? Let me know what you think. And then obviously the next big thing, and I guess it's going to be continuing for The next day or two is the whole new love triangle with Mike, Jess, and Luke M. Obviously, after the recoupling, the first thing that Mike does is pull Jess to the side and says, I was going to pick you. I want to see how things go with you. Jess is obviously saying, obviously she's not sure if he's being genuine. He has to prove himself. And he's saying, obviously I get where you're coming from. I totally understand. I'm going to prove yourself to you. Luke M is pressed, and he's just pressed this whole episode. And he's just basically saying, he thinks that it's a bit snaky that Mike went up to Jess without telling him. And the next day he kind of pulls him to the side and basically says he doesn't appreciate that Mike didn't let him know about, him telling Jess that he was going to pick her and recoupling and things like that. But, my thing on this is I don't think anyone has an obligation to tell whoever if they like their person. I feel like if it's something that really bothers you, then you should go up to that person and say, especially if it's a thing where you are not even an exclusive couple, even exclusive couples. But if you're not even an exclusive couple, I feel like if you think that somebody's stepping on your toes, you need to address them directly. And then on top of that, Mike actually did tell Luke M yesterday that what his intentions were, that he wanted to get to know Jess and he was basically pursuing Jess. So it's a thing where, is it now you have to renew this contract every 2 hours? What is the deal here? But what do you guys think? Do you think Luke was in the right here, or do you feel like Mike telling him yesterday should have been enough? Let me know what you think. So then obviously throughout the episode, we basically just see Mike pulling Jess for a chat. Jess, she's playing it cool. She's basically saying, you have to prove yourself. I don't know if you're being genuine. But to the girls, she basically alludes to the fact that, she's attracted to Mike. Mike is her usual type. But, if he wants her, he's going to have to prove it. So, she also alludes to the fact, she does like, the affection. She likes having two men fighting over her. I feel like this is the first time it's happened for Jess, and I feel like this is what she thought was going to happen to her when she came into the villa. So now that it's finally happening, there's some validation here, and I feel like that's why she's not being harsh with Mike and saying, she kind of alluding, it's a little bit disrespectful to Luke M, but she's saying it in a play. She's not really setting boundaries or being really firm with Mike because she likes having the attention. She likes Luke M being pissed off that Mike is pulling her for a chat. Throughout the episode, we just see Luke M getting agitated every time that Mike pulls her for a chat. He's saying that she's doing too much, he's pulling her too much. And in terms of how I feel about it, I feel like the game is the game. This guy has told you he wants your woman, so now he's going to do what he can to do it. So it's a thing where if you don't like it, you shouldn't be waiting until the 5th, 6th time to decide you're going to interrupt them. You should be doing that, as soon as you feel that you're being threatened, you need to combat that situation. So therefore, being there when they're having, when Mike is pulling Jess to the side to speak, if you feel like he's pulling her away too much, that's when you need to start, doing your wonder and start sitting on Jess' lap. But what do you guys think? Do you feel like Mike was just doing a bit too much? Or do you feel like the game is a game? I feel like Mike was doing a bit too much, but I just feel like, again, the game is the game. He wants to win Jess. He wants to secure Jess. So the game is the game. I would probably take a bit more of a laid-back approach, but at the same time, he knows that, Jess wants him to prove himself. But I feel like this whole pulling of the side thing is getting a bit old. I feel like he needs to spice it up. He needs to start making her breakfast, bringing her breakfast in bed. I feel like the strategy needs switching up, definitely. Yeah, I keep saying that Luke is pressed, but obviously I feel like, Luke M was saying, was being quite petty with his interactions with Mike, basically saying that, well, Jess told me that, it was never going to happen. And then in the confessional, he's calling Mike a snake. He's saying that he's seen a different side to him. And I feel like we are kind of seeing a different side to Mike today. But I feel like that was the Mike that I suspected that he was. I thought he was a playboy. He tried the whole commitment thing with Leanne. But the Mike that we are seeing in this episode is Mike in his true form. But to be fair to Mike, he hasn't really been shady about it. He's been very transparent about what his intentions are with Luke M. I feel like Luke M wants a kind of schedule to happen, like you'll graph Jess in the afternoons, I'll have her in the mornings, and I'll have her in the night. I feel like that's how Luke M wants it to go. But what do you guys think? Do you feel like Luke M should tell Mike, you're doing too much? Or do you feel like the game's a game, Luke M needs to step his game up? But yeah, what I will say is that, like, Mike's chat up lines, they kind of make me, I've always said in my podcast, like, I suspect that Mike has been a stripper. Like, a stripper has been one of his side hustles. And, like, I don't even suspect now. I feel like he fully was a stripper, because these chat up lines that I'm hearing him say to Jess reminds me of stripper speak. Like, I've never been to a stripper show, but I can only imagine in a British UK Dream Boy stripper set, this is probably what the strippers say to the girls, like, I'll be your sexy side dish. What do you guys think of Mike's chat up lines? But yeah, I'm loving the love triangle. I feel like the love triangles, when it's like the men are fighting for the women, especially when they both start puffing up their chest and getting a bit petty, getting a bit bitchy, I feel like it's more entertaining. And then obviously there's a little challenge. I'm not really bothered about the challenge, to be honest. And then obviously Demi and Naz have a kiss. And you know what, I'm starting to, and it was cute and everything, but I'm starting to get sus vibes from Demi. I just feel like when somebody is all, I keep thinking about Naz, when he's not around, he makes me feel so comfortable. I just want to cuddle him. I just want to touch him. And it's literally been like 2 days. I just think it's a little too much. I'm not sure. I just feel like it's a bit suspicious. I feel like it's starting to look like it's a bit of an act going on here, to be honest. If it is an act, fair dues to the gameplay, if she can pull it off for 3 more weeks, 4 more weeks. But I'm a little bit suspicious of Demi. I feel like the love and adoration that she has for Naz, I feel like, yes, she could have a genuine interest in him, but I feel like the exaggeration is a bit suspect. What do you guys think? Do you think Demi is just generally besotted with Naz? Or do you feel like she's playing up to the cameras? Let me know what you think. But yeah, the first look is pretty much the continuing of the love triangle, which I'm here for. Basically, I guess we get kind of more of Jess basically saying she's not attracted to Luke. Mike is her type. But, she needs Mike to work hard for her. I feel like that's basically the narrative that's going to be continuing on. And I guess it's a thing where the other Luke T is basically saying, like, is she telling you the truth? Because she could be telling you one thing and Mike another. People are saying that Demi and Naz are the winners. I still feel like Demi's a little sus. Yeah. I feel like she definitely is playing to win. And you know what, yeah? Even though I think she's a little sus, you got to play the game, innit? You got to play the game. I'm just interested to see whether she can keep it up. Mike's account, which is run by his brother, is basically making fun of him when he said he was the sexy side dish. People are saying that the Islanders are fake because they're saying behind Mike's back, they're saying, he's doing too much. But in front of him, they're gassing him up. Obviously, they were hyping him up in the last bit of the episode when he was saying, like, it's game on after Luke interrupted him. So, yeah. Ain't nothing new. These Islanders are fake. Some people are saying that, this episode proves that Leanne was right to, I guess, have caught the ick from Mike. I never had an issue with Leanne not liking Mike. I didn't think it was a smart game plan, but I never had an issue with that. My issue was that the way that she broke up with him was disrespectful. But that was my only issue with Leanne. I know Leanne is getting a lot of hate online, and a lot of it is from people who hated her even before she broke up with Mike. But yeah, I still don't think it justifies the way that she broke up with Mike. People are saying that Luke M is going crazy, who basically is moving like he wants to kill Mike. And yeah, honestly, because I don't even think he likes Jess like that. It's just, I think maybe he felt like his masculinity and his manhood was being tested by Mike. People are here for Naz and Demi. People are saying that they understand why Leanne caught the ick. People are saying that they're proud of Naz. People are saying that Mike needs to take notes from Ovi. And people are saying, just a reminder, that Shana called Mike a game player from the start. Mike is definitely a game player, but I always say this every year, everyone in that house is playing a game, including Shana. People are saying that Jess should not fall for Mike. People are saying that it's time for Casa Amor. It is kind of getting a little bit dry, triangles every week, the season doesn't have the vim of last season. We're just kind of clutching at straws here. So yeah, I feel like Casa Amor is due in the next week or two. So yeah, that's basically the roundup of the tweets. For those of you who are wondering, my handle is at shannonbafundilaenquiries. I finally got my Twitter account back because Twitter were being some hoes and suspended me for 48 hours. So yeah, we're back. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't. And if you have, don't forget to put your notification bell on so you'll know when the next podcast is dropping. Till next time, guys. Bye.